What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I am Lolise and we are here doing another Vanderpump Rules recap. But before we get into it, if you have not already, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get a notification every time I post. And please don't send anybody that we talk about in this video any hate, negativity, nothing like that. These are just my thoughts and opinions based on what I'm seeing play out on the internet. So if you have something to say about what we're talking about, shoot it down in the comments below. That's what they are there for. Sorry about the gun fingers. I don't know what that's about. Okay, so, I always like to go into the drama that was happening throughout the week before we get into the episode recap, and there wasn't actually like a whole lot of drama. Things have kind of simmered down a little bit. I mean, some things have come out here and there, like, for example, when Sandoval took Raquel to meet his mom, apparently she, rejected even meeting her, but was forced to meet her because they actually had to take shelter in her home from a storm, which there were a lot of really bad winter storms around that time. So, more information about that has come out. Then, also, Coachella happened last weekend, well, the first weekend or whatever, and, of course, all the Vanderpump Rules cast go. I think Ariana has a Coachella house, and I think Sheena does too, or she has a house around there. I don't know. Sheena has, 5 houses. I don't know how to keep up with all of that. How do you keep up with having 5 houses? Anyway, they were at Coachella and Ariana was spotted cuddling, canoodling, making out with a hot guy. Apparently, she met this guy at her friend's wedding in Mexico that she went to right after this all broke. He is from New York and they met up at Coachella and had an amazing weekend together. So we are so happy for her. Some people think that Ariana's maybe moving on too quickly, and other people saying it's not quick enough. To be honest, everybody's different and every relationship is different too. If she realized that she kind of was checked out of the relationship for a while, maybe it really isn't too soon. And also, we're kind of going into this with a mindset that this is a serious relationship, which might not be the case at all. She's at Coachella, you're there to have fun. This may not be anything more than that. Some sort of paparazzi person caught up with Sandoval at the airport, and he said he was very happy for Ariana and he's glad that she's moving on. Mostly because then it gives him the ability to just drop the situation, be like, look, she's already moved on, who cares? Doesn't mean she's not still hurt from things, Tom. They did also ask him about Raquel, and he basically said no comment. And they asked if he was going to visit her, and he said no comment. But he was on his way to Arizona. In addition to that whole wellness retreat that Raquel is at, Tom Sandoval actually made a statement calling them out because apparently they, disclosed that he was going to be there and Raquel was already there. I mean, I do think it is kind of unprofessional for a business like that to disclose who's staying there, but I'm sure they were also getting a bajillion and 2 calls about it nonstop, in addition to all their social media being blown up about this whole thing. So they probably felt forced to make some sort of statement. I did not see whatever they said though. Other big drama things was Sandoval was spotted hanging out with former castmate Billie Lee. Billie Lee was on maybe season 8. It could have been season 7. I'm not sure. It was when a large chunk of the OG cast members left and they were trying to fill the space with some other people that worked at SUR, and Billie Lee was one of them. I was actually really excited to have Billie Lee on because she is a transgender woman, so I thought there would be this whole new inclusive perspective. She didn't really get along with anybody except for I think Tom Sandoval and Ariana. Everybody else would end up being in fights with her, so it just didn't work out. But obviously doesn't mean they're not still friends behind the scenes. A lot of people were bashing Billie Lee and saying that Tom hooked up with her. She was spotted leaving Tom's house wearing the same clothes she was wearing when she went. I mean, he's single at this point, so he can hook up with whoever he wants, but it did rub a lot of other people the wrong way, more so on Billie's side, because they're wow, you're taking Tom Sandoval's side in this whole thing instead of Ariana's, which Billie actually said that she wants to stay neutral and be friends with both people, and Ariana was out of town at Coachella, so she wanted to be there for her friend Tom. No, I mean, I feel if anybody supports Tom Sandoval, you are instantly public enemy number 2. It's just how the dynamic of this whole situation is playing out. I don't know if I would really want to publicly be seen with Sandoval either. I mean, have we even really seen Schwartz out in public with him since? I haven't. And before we get into the recap, I did want to talk a little bit about Sheena's appearance on Watch What Happens Live. She was on it Wednesday after Vanderpump Rules aired. And of course, there were a lot of questions about Sandoval. A lot of her answers were very similar to Lala's because a lot of them were all the same questions, and everybody in that group pretty much has the same consensus of everything that's gone down. One of the questions they asked Sheena was, do you think that the relationship will last? And she said, hell no. And she has heard that it is already becoming toxic. I can't imagine why. It's such a healthy relationship built in a great foundation of trust and understanding and transparency and acceptance. How could it be this toxic so fast? That was sarcasm in case you didn't get it. Of course, it's already becoming toxic. These two have gone from keeping their relationship under wraps and secret to the entire world scrutinizing the both of them for it. I can't imagine that it could be anything but toxic. And then another interesting question that Sheena got was, does she think that Schwartz is like at fault for keeping this secret when he found out that it was just a one-night stand? Or should he have told Ariana? And Sheena says, that's a tough question. It's a good one. But she thinks that he should have given Tom an ultimatum of, okay, if you don't tell Ariana by this deadline, this time frame, then I am going to tell her what happened. Because he says he is Ariana's friend, but he's obviously Tom's friend. He's not Ariana's friend. Once again, in hindsight, that would have been the better move to make, Schwartz, huh? So that's kind of like all of the drama updates of anything I can think of off the top of my head, really. This episode this week is where we're starting to get like sprinklings of Sandoval. Lala and Andy Cohen previously said like some Easter eggs are being placed here. These are not Easter eggs. These are full-blown stop signs. Look at this. And let's just get right into it. So this episode is called Mistress in Distress. So Sheena's wedding is over and everybody is back in Los Angeles. We don't really get much of Sheena in this episode, to be honest. We get like a little bit of her and Brock like doing thank you cards. And then we get James and Allie talking about the whole Schwartz and Raquel thing. James says he could like see them dating, but Allie doesn't. She's like, he is a 40-year-old man that still wears pajamas out. Like, what could she possibly see in him? Then we get a quick clip of Katie coming to bring up the pets from Schwartz, and Schwartz tries to act like nothing happened and starts to try and vent to Katie, and she's like, oh yeah, that sucks, and immediately books it. And good for her. You do not have to stick around and talk to this guy about anything. And he gets all bummed out that Katie didn't want to listen to him complain. So he calls Sandoval, who is actually in the middle of filming a confessional, like he's on camera with this. And Schwartz and Sandoval both lament about how Schwartz did nothing wrong. Katie is like crucifying him or whatever. And she's totally blowing all of this out of proportion. And it's just another example of how dumb and out of touch both of them are. Also, the irony is that while Schwartz is complaining about this, Sandoval is listening and joining in on this conversation, knowing that he has also made out with Raquel, but nobody knows yet. Then we see Raquel and Charlie in the park taking pictures, making content. They sit down after they've gotten all like hot and sweaty and everything, and Charlie brings up, hey, I went to dinner or lunch or whatever with Katie and she told me that you made out with Schwartz. And Charlie is straight up. She's like, I think it's honestly pretty distasteful that you did that to Katie. Like, that was supposed to be her 6-year wedding anniversary that weekend, and I wouldn't even do that to my worst enemy. So while I am still your friend, I do think what you did was pretty awful. I didn't really like Charlie before until literally this scene, and I was like, okay, Charlie, okay, all right, I see you. I get you, girl. I get you. I was gonna say we get each other, but she has no clue who I am, so how could she get me? But I appreciated that. The thing was is that Raquel did not care what anybody thought. She wasn't even listening to somebody who actually really has her best interest at heart and is actually looking out for her and telling her like, look, girl, you don't want to do this. This is a bad idea. And I would not pursue this anymore. And Raquel does let her know, like, we're not gonna be dating or anything. Charlie's like, yeah, I think that's a good idea. You guys should not date. But in the confessional, Raquel says if Schwartz had actually shown more interest, she was interested in dating him. She just wants anybody that she can latch on to stay relevant on the show. Then Raquel tells Charlie that Oliver, who she made out with in Las Vegas, is going to be in Los Angeles with his son, and he wants to take her out on a date without his son. So I guess his son is going to be visiting Garcelle. Then we get the Toms at their money pit complaining about how much of a money pit it is and that they're not open yet and that they are going to miss this deadline. They have a meeting with their kitchen manager who tells them, look, like somebody quit while they were trying to fix the equipment. So not only did they quit, but that equipment still doesn't work. And that he also had to fire another person, I think one of their head chefs, because this person literally just had no idea what they were doing. And the Toms quickly pushed them into the position. They're arguing because they're spending too much much money, and he's arguing because they're not spending enough time. If they spent more time in the restaurant, specifically if Sandoval spent more time in the restaurant, it probably would be open by now. And Sandoval continues to argue with the kitchen manager until the kitchen manager is like, well, why don't you come and do the work then, okay? Because you don't come in enough. There's nobody out there doing the work, so why don't you come in and do it? And somehow Schwartz like actually calms the whole situation down. And I guess that's probably why it is good to have Schwartz as a business partner, because he's a good buffer. It was just weird how he quickly calmed both of these two guys down. So then after commercial break, we are at Tom and Ariana's. Katie comes over. They're going to be working on some sandwich recipes. They have a couple things they got to do. They do say that they've already signed the lease and paid a deposit and everything. You know, things are moving along. Sandoval does say, you know, I am happy for them, but I'm also jealous of them. They're moving a lot faster. They have a much more like simplified idea. They have a much smaller space. They have a much lower rent, and also no business partners. Geez, Tom really hates his business partner. Can you imagine being Greg, his business partner, and having to deal with Tom all the time? And then the three of them talk about Schwartz, and Sandoval says he doesn't see what the big deal is about the kiss, about the makeout. Of course you don't, Sandoval, because you've already been there, done that, and you're hiding it from your partner. And when he's saying this, his eyes get all shifty and he's like looking around. He's not making eye contact with either woman, and he's also crossed his arms, which is like closing off his body. He is kind of closing down the conversation a little bit. But Katie says, look, we talked about this exact situation multiple times, thousands of times, on many occasions. He assured me this was not going to happen. This specific thing wasn't going to happen. And then he did it, and he did it very publicly to shame me. And then Katie calls Raquel a whore, and Tom and Ariana both defend her. Ariana's like, she's not a whore. She doesn't accept money from people. Ariana, don't defend her. Please don't defend her. You know, hindsight 2020, of course. And Katie says, you know what? I guess I really shouldn't be surprised by all of this because he had cheated on me in the past, so I don't know why I thought this would be any different. But she's displayed more respect to Schwartz than Schwartz has to her. She has been seeing somebody and has not brought this person around. They also talk about how weird it was that Joe was like secretly staying at Schwartz's and like nobody knew about it, and that she had sent Katie a super weird message when their divorce was like announced. It's also odd because Tom like refuses to see why Katie chooses not to be friends with Schwartz after this. She says point blank, I told him this is what it takes to be my friend. Don't hook up with people in our friend group. Specifically, don't make out with Raquel. And he can't like not do that. So if he can't not do this, then I can't be friends with him. It's very simple, actually. But the reason he refuses to wrap his head around it is because, you know, he's already involved with Raquel. So then we pump over to Sir, and James is DJing. Lisa stops by, and James kind of fills her in on what happened in Mexico. And Raquel is serving that night because, of course, we're filming the show. She has to be serving. She's the only cast member that's a server at Sir now. And the Toms have decided to grab drinks and food there. So they're sitting in a cute little bench area. Lisa comes and joins them, and then, of course, Raquel is their waitress. It's so loud there that Raquel has to sit down between them. It's such an awkward interaction between Raquel and Schwartz and Lisa does not help at all either. She asks like, have you guys seen each other since Mexico? What's going on? So Raquel sits between the Toms to take their order, and while she's taking Schwartz's order, Sandoval is just staring at her, grinning from ear to ear. He is so enamored with her and happy that she is right next to him. Lisa even calls it out, but she doesn't exactly see it for what it is. She thinks he's getting overly giddy about Raquel and Schwartz, but she doesn't get that she's calling him out for his like crazy grin. It's really because of his feelings for Raquel. Raquel asks if either one of them have talked to Katie, and Sandoval says he has, and he tells the both of them about the conversation that they had, which ended with Katie calling Raquel a whore. And Lisa's like, why did you tell her that? You did not have to tell her that at all. And it apparently really upsets Raquel, and Raquel gets up. Tom gets up, puts his hand on her, and says, I'm sorry, Raquel, are you okay? And she says, no, I'm not okay. Do you think it's fair to be labeled a whore just for making out? And this is another instance where the body language is so telling, because she says this looking dead in the eyes of Sandoval, who she's already made out with, behind her best friend's back. His whole body tenses up. He removes his arm and looks down and says, no, I don't think it's fair. And in that moment, they were both agreeing that what happened, there was nothing wrong with it, in my mind, because that there's so much underlying subtext happening between them. I can't even vocalize all of it. Then Lala has some of the ladies over for, I guess, like wine and cheese, or there's like some other food there too. So it's Christina Kelly, Katie, and Allie, and they discuss Lala's birthday is coming up soon. Now I think Lala is a Virgo, which means her birthday is late August, early September, so this is right around when the affair is starting. She says that she didn't invite Schwartz, Raquel, or Charlie. She didn't want either one of them, any of them there. And Katie is actually bringing a date. Good for her. She says his name is Satchel. That is an interesting name. I've never heard of a person being named Satchel, but whatever, you know? And it sounds like they've been seeing each other for a long time, so good for her. I'm excited that she feels like she can actually bring this guy around her friends and he is comfortable enough to be on television, because, I don't know, maybe he's just never seen the show. I'd be curious. I do want an interview with Satchel. Maybe one day we'll get Satchel confessionals. That's such a weird thing to say. The Toms then go to Villa Rosa and visit Lisa and Ken to give their condolences over the death of one of Lisa's mini ponies. She has a freaking petting zoo at this beautiful estate, and she said actually it was pretty sudden. It was very young. It was only 6 years old. Mini ponies are so cute, but I don't know what like the life expectancy of it is. And also they came to her home Villa Rosa to pay respects for the death of her mini pony. Is like the privilege just oozes out of it. But I still love Lisa Vanderpump. So then they have a seat. I think they have some drinks, and she starts scolding them for their business practices. They whine that the whole kitchen staff has been fired while they were on vacation. It's like, well, maybe you shouldn't have took a vacation so you knew what was going on in your kitchen. And Lisa is just like bewildered because the two of them start fighting, and Schwartz is like, look, Schwartz says like, you didn't make the restaurant a priority. There was a day when we had to get like the drink order or the kitchen menu in, and you had band practice and then went and got your nails done. Why does a 40-year-old man need to go get his nails done professionally? Like, just paint them at home. It's not like he has long acrylic nails that have lots of nail art designs. He keeps them short and paints them white. You can't do that at home. And when Schwartz calls him out, he's like, I'm not gonna walk around with crusty busted nails. I can't. Then Sandoval says, you know what, no, it's not my fault, it's not your fault. You know whose fault it is? It's Greg's fault. This is all Greg's fault. Remember, this is Greg's fault. And he leaves Lisa's house. Meanwhile, Lisa's just standing in the background, totally bewildered. It's a complete and utter mess. Then we are graced with another amazing clip of Sandoval and Ariana in their home. She is going over some kind of like scheduling. They start talking about a cleanse, and this cleanse is to keep their body healthy, or to keep Sandoval's body healthy specifically, because he is going to apparently fertilize some eggs that she had frozen a couple of years ago. She said she has 27 eggs frozen. That is a lot of frozen eggs. And the reason she did that is because she doesn't know she want to have kids, but she wants those just in case. And like, that's smart. I can understand that if you want to do that. Fertilized eggs are better to have than unfertilized eggs. And you know, they said they've talked about it. They talked about it a year ago. They even mentioned it on the previous reunion. So she says, you know, you got to quit drinking for a while so that way your sperm count isn't low. And he just huffs and puffs, and she's like, look, you can not take shots for a while. It's okay. The interesting thing is when he talked about her bringing up fertilizing her eggs on the Howie Mandel podcast, he made that sound like it came totally out of left field. And now we see this is something that they have been talking about a lot. And even though the relationship was over, maybe Ariana was like, look, I still really want these fertilized eggs, and I don't know if I'm going to find somebody else that I trust enough to fertilize them. So I'm going to ask him, because at that point she didn't know he had cheated on her. She just knew that allegedly they were broken up. Well, according to Sandoval, they were broken up. But that was just like an instance where he tried to paint her as crazy and delusional, whereas now we see these were actually active conversations, and perhaps there was actually an appointment that was set up around that date, and that's why she asked about that. So an example of how he was just twisting things around to make himself look better. And it's also at this point where he's actually starting his affair too. So he is actively talking on camera with his girlfriend about fertilizing eggs, but he's also hooking up with their best friend. And when they start talking about the fact that he's gonna have to stop drinking for a little bit, Tom just starts getting like super weirdly defensive. and all of a sudden starts talking about how it's hard to talk to Ariana, specifically this summer. Like we're starting to see the cracks in the relationship, and he just couldn't figure out how to like bring this up on camera, so he brought it up in the most awkward way. Like his insecurity is really showing. She assures him that she wouldn't want him to fertilize her eggs if she felt the way that he's projecting onto her. And she, you know, he says, I feel like you're just annoyed with me. She's like, well, sometimes you actively try to annoy me, but we've been together for a long time, you know, like I wouldn't want to do this and take this step with you if I didn't love and care about you and want to make this commitment with you. Ariana is all in on this relationship, where Tom, we are now starting to see he's already like out the door. Then we are at Pump, and Lisa Vanderpump arrives. She grabs one of the best tables. Well, maybe not. I don't know. All the tables do kind of look the same. But she grabs a table because she's going to be meeting Garcelle and Garcelle's son Oliver, who is in town. Oh my God. I just want the power couple of Garcelle and Lisa Vanderpump on Beverly Hills Housewives, and then having like Sutton with them too, like unstoppable force. Garcelle orders Lisa Vanderpump's rosé, and they throw subtle shade at Lisa Rinna, who also created a rosé, by Garcelle rather, saying that Lisa Vanderpump's rosé is better than anybody else's rosé. Then Lisa brings up the whole Raquel Oliver situation, and Garcelle's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be hearing this. Lisa tells them that it actually caused like quite a tiff between the girls. It was more of a big deal than he might even realize, but he does tell them like, yeah, I've been talking to Raquel, and I do plan to like hang out with her tonight. And you could see that Garcelle was kind of confused, but I think she also just tries to stay out of her adult son's business because she knows that he makes a lot of choices that she doesn't agree with in life, and she is just there to, I don't know, be a supporting mother, but not an enabling mother. So I do not hold Garcelle responsible for anything that Oliver does, nor do I judge her based on his actions. He is a 30-something adult now. Then Garcelle starts talking about like past relationships and how she wants to meet somebody and feel like they're the one and feel something. And she says to Lisa, well, did you feel something when you met Ken? And Lisa says, oh yeah, I definitely felt something. And then they just kind of laugh. I just love how cheeky Lisa is. And I love Lisa and Ken together. So everybody is getting ready for Lala's birthday. Well, mostly everybody, because remember, like Raquel and Schwartz and Charlie are not invited, but James and Allie are getting ready. She's picking out cute dresses. They're trying to coordinate. They're a cute couple. And Allie sits down on the bed while James is picking out a shirt, and she tells him about when she hung out with Lala and Christina Kelly and Katie the other day. And she says, I kind of mentioned something. She said that she actually saw Sandoval and Raquel dancing together at somewhere called the Abbey at 1 o'clock in the morning. Ariana was nowhere in sight. She said, look, I know they're friends, but like, I wouldn't be comfortable if that was my boyfriend, if I was Ariana. And she tells James this, and James is like, look, you know what? She's been hanging out with both the Toms a lot. I wouldn't read too much into it. It's probably nothing. Another situation where people saw the red flags and were like, you know what? They wouldn't do that to Ariana. Ariana's too amazing. And just dismissing it. I hope this is a lesson for everybody in the Vanderpump Rules cast, is to trust your gut. Christina Kelly then goes to Lala's. I think they're just like eating and before they like get ready for Lala's birthday. And Lala is like, girl, I got some tea to tell you about Oliver. Well, news broke. And this, I remember when this happened like over the summer, that Oliver and his wife were not separated. This is what I was talking about. They were not separated, and she was saying that he cheated with multiple women, including Raquel, and Raquel is now a mistress. After she laid into Lala about being a mistress, she's now in the exact same predicament. Well, she didn't go as far as Lala did with her ex, and apparently Oliver's wife, Sam is her name, messaged Lala and asked her about the group photo that the 4 girls and Oliver posted that night. She said, his wife said when she saw Raquel's pose with Oliver, she just got a pit in her stomach and had to know if something happened, and Lala told her the truth. And Lala is just loving the irony of all this. We also get Sheena and Brock showing up to Raquel's apartment, and Raquel tells them she got a DM from someone, who knows who that is, that Oliver, yeah, he's not separated, and his wife is naming several other women and Raquel herself as a mistress. And she's like, oh my God, how did this happen? And Sheena's like, well, now you're in the club. And unfortunately, you're always gonna have that label. It's so weird though, because Raquel's like, I mean, he was like literally all up on on me and kissing me at the club. So like clearly I was like, well, he has to be separated or divorced. Like he can't be married. Like married guys wouldn't do that. So now she's confused. And then Brock and Sheena are both like, don't you have a date with him tonight? And Raquel's like, yeah, I do. So I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna ask him about this. Brock and Sheena are like, you should probably message his wife first and let her know what's going on and get the truth, because he's just gonna tell you what he wants you to hear, whereas his wife is gonna tell you the truth. And to be honest, if this was not all like on television and stuff, I don't think Raquel would have really cared that much. I think she just is upset because it makes her look bad. But honestly, she doesn't really seem like even that upset when she's talking about all of this. So Raquel calls Sam on the phone and she gets a lot of information that like the night that they made out, he went home and had sex with his wife and that they still live together. Raquel says that she's just so angry that he did this to both of us. Raquel, it is not about your feelings in this. You get to just feel embarrassed and that's about it. My other question is, does she have the same feelings about the situation with Ariana? Does she feel shame, guilt, remorse, anything? We'll find out at the finale, where apparently there's a bombshell of a convo. But back at Lala's, Christina Kelly is just totally in disbelief. And they talk about the irony of Raquel saying all that stuff to her at the pool party. Raquel says she's still gonna go. She's gonna confront him with all the information. And Sheena talks about, you know, that this stigma is always gonna be attached to you forever. Sorry, girl. What's also interesting is that Lala was almost in Raquel's exact same position because she wanted to hook up with Oliver and Raquel kind of swooped in and did it instead. So this could have been totally different. Lala's birthday party is starting. It is at some place called Cat something. I can't remember. People start arriving, including Katie and her date Satchel, and they look sweet together. Somebody's like, you guys have the best eyebrows. And they do have really good eyebrows. Everybody as they come in, I just kept thinking like, oh my god, they look gorgeous. Oh my god, she looks hot. Oh my god, she looks hot. And then Sheena came in and she looked hot, but then she was judging Katie's date's hair and saying he looked like a shaggy dog or something. How rude. And then we get Raquel and Oliver meeting up, saying hello. She made it seem like she was just gonna be there really quickly, but she was there long enough to order a drink. Oliver starts the conversation by saying like, look, no, we are separated. Like, I've lived somewhere else for 8 months, blah, 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 blah. And Raquel says, you know, I came here to hear your side, but I want you to know, like, I've talked to your wife and she's told me all these different things. She told me the night we made out, you went and hooked up with her. And he was like, well, I might have. I don't remember. She's like, what? You don't remember? Oliver pretty much just tries to spin it, calls his wife crazy, says she is lying about everything, and he's sorry to Raquel for her getting dragged into all of this and it becoming like a huge public spectacle. And R sees Oliver as being manipulative and she decides to leave. Then she texts Sheena and asks if they are still at Lala's birthday party and if it's still at that cat place, whatever it was. And she's gonna come and crash it because she wants to talk to Lala. And it's interesting because as these texts are happening, they're all bashing her as a mistress. So when she gets there, she texts Sheena. Sheena goes outside and she tells her like, yeah, I went and talked to Oliver. I like broke it off and everything. I really want to talk to Lala and apologize for calling her mistress because now I'm a mistress too, just like both of you. And then they go in. What the fuck? Why does Raquel always crash events that she's not invited to? Lala greets her with a, what up, mistress? I was dead. That's friggin' hilarious. And in the confessionals, Lala says, of course she's here. I'm not shocked. Where else would she go? Of course she's gonna come here. Raquel asks Lala if they can go talk outside. And Lala's like, yeah, sure. That as they leave, Katie then starts to shit talk Raquel to Sandoval, and it really bothers him. He says something like, you really enjoy this whole situation, don't you? And Katie says, you really enjoy Raquel a lot too, don't you? Then following up with, you know, going to the Abbey at 1 a.m. together, and he is like shocked. You can see it. He's like, what the hell are you talking about? What are you, like, F off, you know? And then he's like looking around, getting all shaky and stuff because he knows he's been caught, but he doesn't know what he's been caught in. So then outside, Raquel starts off with apologizing for calling her a mistress, and Lala says, why? Because you are one? And Raquel's like, yeah, after tonight, I had no idea. Like, I really believed him. And she apologizes and they actually seem to move forward because Lala's like, look, this is the exact same thing that I went through. Like, I get it, but you are not a mistress, rise above it. And they actually like hug it out. But unfortunately, what Lala doesn't know is actually Raquel is still a mistress. I guess I don't really know if you call people a mistress if they're like not married, but they were in a committed partnership. So we'll just still go with the title of mistress. Raquel's still a mistress. So like I said, they hug it out. Lala goes back into her birthday and Raquel goes on her merry little way. And then in the next episode, there's a lot of rumbling about Tom and Ariana's relationship. Like, is it an open relationship? What's going on? So there's starting to become a lot more talk around Tom and Ariana, which we have not really ever seen before. So I am excited to see next week's episode. Anyway, that is it for today's video. If you have not already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you guys in my next video. Laters. Bye.